The Second World War raged across the globe, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. By 1945, Japan's empire was crumbling under relentless Allied pressure. The Pacific War, marked by brutal island battles, had taken a heavy toll. Japan's leaders remained defiant, hoping for a decisive victory. The United States, under President Truman, aimed to end the war swiftly. Yet a costly invasion of Japan loomed large. Amid escalating conflict, a fateful decision was made. The world watched with bated breath. The stage was set for a dramatic conclusion. The question was not if Japan would surrender, but when. On August 6, 1945, the world witnessed an event unlike any other, the detonation of an atomic bomb over the Japanese city of Hiroshima. The blinding flash and mushroom cloud that followed marked the dawn of the atomic age, forever changing the nature of warfare. The devastation was immediate and immense, killing an estimated 90,000 to 146,000 people in the initial blast and subsequent radiation sickness. 3 days later, another atomic bomb was dropped on the city of Nagasaki, inflicting further death and destruction upon the Japanese people. The combined casualties from the two bombings are estimated to be between 129,000 and 226,000, a stark testament to the horrific power unleashed by these new weapons. The atomic bombings sent shockwaves throughout Japan and the world. The sheer scale of destruction was unprecedented, leaving a deep psychological scar on the Japanese people. The bombings also demonstrated the immense military superiority of the United States, a stark reality that Japan's leaders could not ignore. As if the atomic bombings were not enough, another blow came to Japan on August 8, 1945. The Soviet Union, which had remained neutral, declared war on Japan and launched a massive invasion of Manchuria. This shattered any hopes Japan had for a negotiated peace through Soviet mediation. The Soviet invasion caught Japanese forces in Manchuria off guard. The Red Army, hardened by years of fighting, swiftly overcame Japanese defenses. Over 650 out of 850 Japanese troops were killed or wounded in the first 2 days. The Soviet entry had a profound psychological impact on Japan's leaders. Japan was now fighting a two-front war against two superpowers, a fight they could not win. The dream of a greater East Asia co-prosperity sphere lay in ruins. Section 4. A nation on the brink, Japan's dwindling resources. By the summer of 1945, Japan's war machine was on its last legs. Years of relentless Allied bombing raids had crippled the country's industrial capacity, leaving it unable to replace its dwindling stockpiles of weapons and ammunition. The once mighty Imperial Japanese Navy lay in ruins, sunk at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. The US Navy's submarine campaign had effectively cut off Japan's supply lines, leading to acute shortages of food, fuel, and other essential resources. The average civilian caloric intake had plummeted to a meager 1,680 per day, leaving the population on the brink of starvation. Faced with this bleak reality, Japan's leaders were forced to confront the fact that continuing the war would only result in further suffering and destruction for their people. The military situation was hopeless, and the home front was on the verge of collapse. The time for difficult decisions had arrived. Section 5. The Emperor's Fate, a non-negotiable condition. In the face of mounting pressure and dwindling options, Japan's leaders finally began to consider the unthinkable: surrender. However, there was one non-negotiable condition that they insisted upon: the preservation of the Emperor system. For the Japanese people, Emperor Hirohito was not just a ruler, he was a divine figure, a living god who embodied the soul of the nation. The Allies were initially hesitant to agree to this demand. Many within the Allied camp believed that Emperor Hirohito should be held accountable for Japan's war crimes, either through trial or forced abdication. However, the US government recognized that insisting on the emperor's removal would only stiffen Japanese resistance and prolong the war. In a crucial concession, the Allies agreed to allow Emperor Hirohito to remain on the throne as a symbolic figurehead, stripped of his political power. In return, Emperor Hirohito would issue a declaration accepting the terms of surrender and urging his people to lay down their arms. Section 6. A Nation Listens, the Emperor's Historic Broadcast. On August 15, 1945, the Japanese people gathered around their radios to hear a voice they had never heard before, the voice of their emperor. In a historic broadcast, Emperor Hirohito addressed his nation directly for the first time, informing them of his decision to accept the Allies' terms of surrender. In his address, the emperor acknowledged the devastating toll the war had taken on Japan and the futility of continuing the fight. He urged his people to bear the unbearable and endure the unendurable, accepting defeat with grace and dignity. He emphasized the need to rebuild Japan as a peaceful and democratic nation, embracing the future with hope and determination. The emperor's words sent shockwaves throughout Japan. For many, it was a moment of profound shock and disbelief. The idea of surrendering, let alone hearing their divine emperor admit defeat, was unfathomable. Yet, amidst the despair and uncertainty, there was also a sense of relief that the bloodshed was finally over. Section 7. Legacy of Surrender, a turning point in history. On September 2, 1945, the formal surrender ceremony took place aboard the USS Missouri, anchored in Tokyo Bay. Japanese Foreign Minister Mamoru Shigemitsu signed the instrument of surrender on behalf of the Japanese government, officially ending World War II. The surrender of Japan marked the beginning of a new era. The war had left an indelible mark on the world, claiming tens of millions of lives and reshaping the geopolitical landscape. In the aftermath of such unprecedented destruction, the international community came together to establish the United Nations, hoping to prevent such horrors from ever happening again. For